Partnered by Times Influence.
Hello and welcome to another episode of NSE Prosperous India in association with Times Network, a very special investor education initiative where we've traveled across the country, met with investors and spoken to them about how they can get more bang from their buck. And now on this part of the series, we're in studio and we're talking to individuals from different walks of life about their dreams, their aspirations, their goals, and how they can grow their finances to match and to fulfill those dreams, goals and aspirations. So today in studio I have with me a very special guest. He's a personal finance expert. He's the MD at Etika Wealth Management, Gajendra Kothari. Gajendra, thanks so much for coming in. And our two special guests today are Rovina D'Souza. Hi Rovina, thanks for coming in. And Priya Dugard. Hi Priya. First up, Rovina, first tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a media professional working in Bombay for over 6 years now. I've been married for almost one and a half year.
Okay, superb. And Priya, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm an event professional and I have been working for past 9 years now and soon to get married. Oh, lovely, lovely.
Gajendra, one married, one soon to get married. What are the first few steps that people should be taking, either very soon after they've got married or just before they get married, to plan their financial journey properly?
The rules which I always tell is, first, be very open in the conversation. You know, it may so happen that both of you may not have much idea about these things anyways. So the good thing, Sumit, is particularly in metro cities, nowadays you have many of such courses, you know, one-day course where both of you can attend, and that gives you a lot of head start in a very organized fashion. Or if you can't do that, then maybe engage a professional advisor, because what happens, otherwise you don't get a framework on how to get started.
Yeah.
And that is what, you know, leads
That's
to...
the foundation. That has to be strong so that everything
Exactly.
can be
Otherwise,
built on
what
that.
happens, Sumit, because you don't have direction, you don't have a plan, that leads to procrastination, and you keep pushing it to the last minute. Other hygiene things which we talk about is that before a marriage, you would have been working for 5, 6, 7 years in your corporate life, and the same person, you would have done some investments, he would have done some investments, is to bring everything on the table. Okay. And that is when you meet somebody professional, he helps you with that format and puts everything together and help you change all the name, you know, your previous name, your addresses, contact details, nominee person, because in most of the cases what we've seen is we put our parents' name while we are single, but now you may want to add your spouse's name.
Moving on, Rovina, you have some questions on mind, so why don't you ask Gajendra?
Okay, so my husband and me are looking at investing in a house. So we are almost in the process of initiating the loan and everything. We've almost paid a part of the money for the property, and all of that has already been in process. But my query is, while I'm also gonna start paying a huge chunk of my salary into EMI, and so is he. So what are the other investments that we can look at while we are initiating the entire EMI process? So what are the other investments that you think you could suggest that we could sort of initiate in the coming months, in a month or two, that we can look at sort of withdrawing in the next 5 or 6 years? So once we'll be planning a baby or for a retirement plan. So what are the different investments that you suggest that I could go ahead with?
Well, Rovina, I'm glad that you brought this question out, because I think this is a question for most 90% of the couples we meet, and this is a very generic question in our country. But there is one fundamental mistake which we all make, is that rush to buy our own house, and particularly in cities like Bombay and Delhi, which is very expensive. I think this may not be a very right decision to jump in to buy a house immediately, and I'll tell you why. Because what happens, you and your spouse work in different companies and in different locations, and if you buy a house, you're stuck there. So either one of you may have to travel quite far, and if you change jobs, you can't change your houses, right? So that is why, A, you should not commit to buying a house. Secondly, because you may not be knowing that you are going to live in this city or not, because nowadays we all work in multinational companies. We may need to travel, we may need to work in other cities or even in other countries for that matter. So why commit a house right now? It's a good idea to go for a rented house, perhaps closer to both of your workplaces or at a common place, okay? And maybe once you're settled 5-10 years and you've now become a very mid-level officer or a senior level executive in your company, that's when you are far more mature with your money decisions, And that's when you know that this is a city I want to live in. This is a city I would like to settle in. And that is the time you should commit yourself to a house. Since you have already, let's say, committed into it, now the suggestion is that the loan, if you're taking a loan, it should be in both spouses' name. The reason being, the burden is shared equally. Secondly, the house is in the joint name. The loan should be also in the joint name. You both get tax benefits, under section 24, up to 2 lakh and 2 lakh. And that can bring your loan cost from whatever 9%, post-tax it can bring to 7.5%, 8%, That's a huge save. And it commits you to a discipline of paying every month, After paying the EMI, if you have some loan left, then you should be channelizing for your other goals. Okay. Now, though you said you want to plan for retirement, that is the best thing. But again, I wouldn't like you to compromise everything for longer term goals and not plan for your vacations, because I strongly feel that vacations are as important right now at this stage of life than other goals. So you should have some liquidity also. Okay. You should plan for 6 months, 1 year goals. Okay. These are some of the things. You should plan for going out on weekends. And these also require a lot of expenses nowadays, movies and everything. First is because what happens, Rovina, once you have a baby, for next 2-3 years, then you are not able to do all of these things. Right. So why miss out on these things? Now these are all very finer aspects, which needs to be thought carefully. The other thing which I would recommend, Sumit, is building an emergency fund.
Yes, of course. That's very important.
And more important, particularly when you are about to have baby, because then you know that you'll be out of action for next 2-3 years. At least 12 months of expenses should be there in an emergency fund. Other thing I would share with you, Rovina and Priya, is that make a budget.
Yes.
Discuss this budget, because if you're spending on your own, not discussing this thing, you will never know how much the other partner has spent, and you don't know what are your household expenses. Then start investments, based on your goals, like long term. Start with some small amount for your retirement goal. Now it may be 5,000 also, but at least commit to a retirement dabba or fund. Okay. Now, when we are 28, 29, we think retirement is very far. Why to think now? So, but even when you create a particular box for retirement, then at least you have committed yourself, and then you keep increasing there. And then there may be other goals like car purchase. So keep each's goal and then start funding towards these goals.
There's one point that I want to put across is when you said that stay on rent than taking a house, but you're still paying that amount as rent. Instead of putting it as rent, I put it as an EMI.
Yes.
So isn't that
very valid question? Again, this is a question most people have their own mind. That's not the right thing, because particularly in cities like Bombay and Delhi, the rentals which you pay compared to what EMI you pay is far less. The rental yields are only 2-3% in Bombay. Okay, but the EMI which you pay, you need to end up paying EMI for 25 years. You become slave to your future. And what happens when you commit yourself to such large EMI? You become very, you don't want to change jobs, because you have worry that this job is comfortable, everything is okay. What if I go to a new job and things doesn't work out? Then how will my EMI go? You may not want to become an entrepreneur just because you have loan on your head. You may be very smart, hardworking guy, but you can't take risk because there's a EMI pressure coming every month. Why not create a house fund and put that difference into the house fund for next 10 years? You may not know that after 10 years you may get 40% or 50% of your house funded from that goal, from that money itself. I mean, today there are various options, and as in he said, mutual funds. In the longer term, there are equity funds which gives you much better return than what you would get in a house. I mean, people think if I invest in a house, in the longer term, the house value goes much higher, but that's not true. Real estate does give you good returns, but it gives you closer to 8 to 10% returns, but equity over 10-15 years can give you even better returns than real estate. And that's financially, you have liquidity you can use for some other purpose also, but house you are stuck.
On that note, it's time for a very short break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching NSE Prosperous India in association with Times Network. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NSE Prosperous India in association with Times Network, and today I'm in conversation with Gajendra Kothari and two very special guests, Rovina D'Souza and Priya Duggad. Priya, you had some other questions as well.
Yeah, so the same thing, because I have already invested in a house, and now EMIs are something, and then I want to know that apart from the chunk that I'm already paying, what else can I invest in? Because again, I have got my wedding further, and then an entire life which is going to change and going forward.
So Priya, since you have a year to go for the wedding, we don't have much time left that way to plan. So of course you can't afford to put these in a risky investments. You have to park it in a short-term investments where you know the certainty that at this and whenever you want you get the money. The money is not linked to market returns, like equities. So you have to put in something like short-term mutual funds, ultra short-term, or fixed deposits. Where you get 7-8% return and you can withdraw whenever you want. If you may need to buy gold as well, okay. So then nowadays, most parents want to gift gold to the children. I always suggest don't give them physical gold nowadays. Hardly we wear physical gold. At least give them e-gold, if at all you want to give. So that's completely liquid. It's linked to the gold price, and it's tax-free also at maturity. Okay, you don't have to worry about locker and other things. And you get the gold returns. So that's a smart way of investing.
And you can withdraw in parts. So
you can withdraw in parts,
So Gajendra, another issue that is of concern, or a topic that very often people don't talk about, is insurance. Once you get married, the importance of getting a life insurance and medical insurance, health insurance. Could you shed some more light on that?
I think again very important. In fact, this is much more important than when I talk about creating budget and other things. So look, in marriage, there can be two scenarios, Sumit, wherein a spouse may be working or may not be working. Okay, if spouse is not working, then the other spouse definitely need to have insurance, because the financial dependency is on that person, right? So then you should, as soon as possible, go for term insurance. Okay, and normally you get 20 times of your annual income, which is good enough. If you're not there tomorrow, 20 times is good enough for your spouse to maintain the same lifestyle, right? But if both of you are working, so then you're not financially dependent on each other. That is when you may skip term insurance for the moment. Why I'm saying for the moment, because when you have a child, then there's a dependent member now on you, okay, and then one of you can have. But otherwise, you can skip at least for next 2 years, okay. Health insurance, you both must have. Now another question which you get, if both are working, they may have insurance from their employers, right? Now that you are planning to get married and you will have, you plan to have babies 2-3 years down the line, there are many insurance companies which offer health insurance plan combined with maternity benefits, which not only cover your baby's prenatal, postnatal, all your vaccinations and everything are covered. And nowadays you know how expensive are vaccinations. So you go for this policy. Now you may not have to go for a higher amount policy because you're already covered by your company. You may go for a standby cover of 5 lakh maybe, So that use as the last option.
Gajendra, what in the case when they're taking a loan, for home loan, in this case, for example, what about maybe taking term insurance cover to cover that home loan amount?
Perfect, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Say you've taken the loan from bank X. You don't take an insurance policy linked to that. You take from a company Y.
Then the insurance cover should be much higher than the house amount.
Right.
And should leave some amount for maintenance as well, So that even if you're not there tomorrow, from that insurance amount, the house loan can be paid off entirely, and you're left with a decent corpus to live life, individually.
So yeah, Rovina, you had another question in mind.
Yeah. We do tend to shift jobs very often now these days, and we all have to sort of transfer our PF from previous company to the current company, and then again to the future company wherever we are going. So do you recommend that we withdraw this PF and invest in different financial instruments, or do you suggest that we keep the PF, let it grow and use it as a retirement fund?
Again, brilliant question, but Rovina, there is no one clear answer to this. There are multiple versions. The first thing first, nowadays thanks to technology and thanks to Aadhaar thing, porting of PF has become much easier now, and you have one thing called UAN number, universal account number, where online you can move your PF account and you can track on a monthly basis. So it's not much difficult nowadays if you move jobs. Having said that, if you are in between jobs and you want to, by the way, you should also remember that if you are withdrawing your PF less than 5 years, it will be taxable. So you have to make sure that you have completed 5 years so then entire corpus becomes tax free. Now that you are in between jobs and you may decide whether to use this PF. If you are a person who is into spending, then I would say don't touch it, because PF was meant as a compulsory saving for your retirement and to dissuade you from spending that money. So then let it port straight away. But if you're a smart person, smart investor, you have two options again. Since you already have committed to yourself to a house, you can either consider paying off the part of that money to finish the loan, because in PF you're getting a lower rate of return. House interest is higher you're paying, so you'll save that much money on interest. But if you're a little more riskier investor, you want to get more returns, let's say by investing in equities where you can earn 12-13% return, then why not take the money from PF, put into your retirement fund, equity fund, and let your house loan continue at 9% or 8%. And in fact, post-tax it is 7%, 7.5%. So there is a clear arbitrage of 4%, 5% which you are making by utilizing this money. So you can go for that.
Last question, Gajendra, is people talk about investing in equity. Advisors like you advise about having equity exposure. The other end, people, laymen, common people are worried about equity. Markets are volatile. How do you tackle that and get people to understand about the benefits of investing in equity, get them to increase their exposure to equity?
So I'm reminded of a very beautiful dialogue from the movie Sarkar by Amitabh Bachchan. He says, नज़दीकी फ़ायदा देखने से पहले दूर का नुकसान सोचना चाहिए. FD is that नज़दीकी फ़ायदा. You feel very safe and comfortable. I am earning 7%, but what you miss out on is the inflation, which is दूर का नुकसान. Right. So that is when equity comes in and helps you, because equity is an asset class which beat inflation in the longer term. Okay. So while while fixed deposit gives you peaceful night of sleep, equity has its own volatility. But the longer you stay in equity, the volatility gets reduced. So particularly for your long-term goals like retirement, child's education, house purchase maybe 10 years, you can safely commit that amount through SIP into equity. You don't have to worry about. Don't look at your portfolio 6 months down the line. But for near-term expenses, Sumit, like wedding planning, vacation planning next year, okay, child planning for next 2 years, then put this in short-term safe place, because you would definitely need the money. So you need to make a balance. Secondly, you need to understand what your risk profile is also. Many people don't understand their risk profile. Basically, it means that how much risk you are willing to take. Okay. So if I ask you a question, you want to invest 100 rupees in something, are you comfortable? And the idea is to earn high returns, but in the short term, if that becomes 95, 90, is that comfortable with you? And you have to answer this yourself. So when okay, I'm fine with that, in the short term, but eventually it will go to 115. Then I can live with that. Then it means you can take risk. So you have to, and that comes by financial knowledge. By watching these kind of programs and reading books, you'll be able to uplift, in the sense, yourself in terms of risk taking. And and nothing worthwhile comes without taking risk in life. So you have to take some amount of risk.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Gajendra, for guiding them, and of course all the viewers. Thanks, Rovina. Thanks, Priya, for coming in. We hope this has been helpful and at least giving you a start onto a superb financial journey ahead with your partners. Thank you so much for watching. You've been watching NSE Prosperous India in association with the Times Network. We'll be back soon. Stay tuned to the channel. Thank you so much.
The risk of this market.
NSE has played a critical role in educating investors. A Prosperous India camp was conducted with the members of Evergen Technologies, where they were taught the importance of investing in India's growing equity markets.
You should not take a big housing loan early in your career and burden yourself. Because what happens many a times when you're taking housing loan, let's say 3 year, 4 year in your career, let's say your salary is 100 rupees, you are paying 50 to 60% only for your EMIs. And then balance amount is too small, where you are not able to manage your expenses. Savings is left on. So no saving for child education, no saving for your retirement, no saving for any other goal. So one dream housing goal actually takes away all the other goals saving. First of all, we need to understand because why we are saving and when we would need the money. If we don't save as per goals, every time markets go up, you will have the itch of selling. And the day you sell, next day you will ask your agent again the question, where should I invest? Then he will say, why did you take out your money in first place? Today, everybody wants to earn a good living, so they are looking for good jobs, good job opportunities. They are moving away from their houses, and they are earning also. But what they forget is earning is only 50%. What you need to also do is to save a good portion of your earning, which I think people are not focused on. So these kind of investor awareness programs actually educate them on how to spend their income in the most rightful manner and what are the opportunities which they have. So some of things they are no like fixed deposit and product, but there are new avenues like mutual funds and which term insurance they need to go. A lot of awareness comes through these programs.
Partnered by Times Influence.